This year, Ohio became one of a handful of states to pass a 6-week abortion ban, though a federal court stopped it from going into effect, as has happened in other states. And all those so-called heartbeat bills started with one in Ohio 8 years ago. Statehouse correspondent Jo Ingles has this look at the history of that controversial proposal and at the woman who takes the credit for it.
Okay.
When Governor Mike DeWine signed the heartbeat bill earlier this year, the president of Ohio Right to Life was there, along with the group's executive director.
Passage of the heartbeat bill is really our greatest accomplishment to date.
But the woman who did the heavy lifting on the bill for 8 years was absent. Janet Folger Porter said publicly she was disinvited to the signing, though DeWine's office never confirmed that. Porter came up with the bill just after John Kasich and other Republicans took the state's top executive offices in 2010.
I think the bill came from God because I wasn't thinking about the Republican sweep. I wasn't thinking about any of those things. I had just moved back to Ohio, my home state, and my husband, who knew I had been involved in the pro-life arena for years before, said to me, "Why don't you end abortion while you're here?" And I just kind of, I got a few minutes, I could knock that out. I just laughed at him because it just seemed too impossible. But also embedded, ingrained in my heart is the motto of the state, which is my life motto: with God, all things are possible.
Though the swing state of Ohio may have seemed an unlikely choice for such a restrictive abortion bill, nearly half of the Ohio House co-sponsored it in 2011. But Porter says it wasn't well received by leaders in the anti-abortion community.
They were actually working against the bill from the start.
Ohio Right to Life didn't endorse it then, though some local chapters did. But Porter was not deterred. Her group, Faith to Action, sent lawmakers those red heart-shaped balloons and were in the committee room when an ultrasound machine was wheeled in for what supporters called witness testimony from a fetus with a heartbeat. The bill passed the House a few months later, but never moved in the Senate. The heartbeat bill was introduced 4 more times, and Porter kept up the pressure through a variety of visible moves. For instance,
the 3-story heartbeat balloon that sat in front of the State House, I own that, and we're using it for other states now. Also, we rented a plane to fly over the State House. My favorite was the ultrasound.
She also convened prayer vigils and rallies, delivered teddy bears with a recorded beating heart, and red roses to lawmakers, and invited the Duggars to bring members of their huge conservative Christian family to the State House in 2013. Not all the tactics were tame. Heartbeat bill supporters also targeted Republican lawmakers seeking re-election, and Porter herself even tried to unseat Republican Senate President Larry Obhoff in 2016. The heartbeat bill passed twice, and both times then Governor John Kasich vetoed it, saying it was too extreme and unconstitutional, though he did sign 19 laws restricting abortion during his 8 years in office. But when Governor Mike DeWine arrived, there were 2 new conservative justices on the U.S. Supreme Court, and DeWine had promised to sign the heartbeat bill. Ohio Right to Life supported it this time. It passed quickly, and DeWine did sign it. And the ACLU of Ohio delivered on its promise to sue.
This is just a full frontal assault on Roe v. Wade, but there have been these sort of smaller death by 1,000 cuts type assaults all along.
In July, a federal court set the law aside, which is what happened in 5 other states with similar laws. Backers are appealing to the U.S. Supreme Court, which Porter and other heartbeat bill supporters say was the plan all along.
We have reached the tipping point. And so, there's always more work to be done. And will I be there doing it? Yes. I as long as I have breath, I am going to be a voice for the voiceless.
Those who support legal abortion say they'll continue to speak out, too.
We're going to stand up against it. We're going to shout out their lies. We're going to continue to make sure that people access the abortion care they need. It's, whether it is illegal in the state of Ohio or not.
This started in 2011.
That was really before we really started seeing all the statistics on our rising infant and maternal mortality crises that we're seeing in the state. If we had actually paid attention to those in 2011, rather than starting to push this bill through for nearly the next decade, the strides we could have made.
Still, Porter says the 8-year battle was money and time well spent.
That is when the heartbeat bill or some other bill, but I believe it'll be the heartbeat bill, it was crafted to be the arrow in the heart of Roe versus Wade. And when the giant, the Goliath of Roe, crumbles and falls to the ground, that's the victory party. That's going to say, I have achieved my life goal of bringing the killing to an end.
Porter says her efforts in Ohio have not ended. She's not being specific, but she says her group will undertake more anti-abortion efforts in the future.
But there'll be more to come, rest assured of that.
In 2017, Janet Folger Porter tried to get the heartbeat bill to Congress, working with Steve King of Iowa, who was removed from committee assignments this year after a history of racist remarks. And in 2017, she also campaigned in support of Roy Moore, who lost his bid for the U.S. Senate from Alabama after charges of improper sexual contact with teenage girls. Jo Ingles, Statehouse News Bureau.